On November 10th, 2019, I stopped playing Destiny 2. My brother Cody and my friend Ben harassed me for probably about a year after I stopped playing, especially when we were all stuck at home in March of 2020, wondering why I wouldn't just spend a couple hours a week joining them and playing one of our favorite co-op experiences together. I told them repeatedly that I just couldn't justify it anymore. Cody, unsatisfied with that answer, demanded that I write an essay and explain why I won't play Destiny 2 anymore. So here we are, 2.5 years later, because I think I've finally figured out what to say. And it's kind of a lot. I have spent almost my entire life playing or thinking about playing video games. Destiny demands this of me. It's a magical blend of first-person action, guns, color, world building, and an RPG grind that keeps me coming back. I've loved first-person shooters for as long as I can remember. The immersion of the first-person perspective, the power and precision of the guns, the exploration and adventure of a foreign world, the things that make a little boy's imagination go crazy. Couple this with colorful visual stimulation, a sci-fi fantasy, story-filled universe, an addictive risk-reward cycle, and the ability to hang and collaborate with the boys. The neural pathways I developed as a child remain as burned into my mind as they have ever been. But even though everything about Destiny screams my name, I know that the person I became through playing Destiny is not who I'm meant to be. Video games, especially live service games, are dangerous because they become a priority over my family, friends, and personal responsibilities. And on that note, I'd like to waste several minutes of your life overanalyzing everything, including various video games and what makes them different from Destiny 2. Humanity consumes entertainment. Lots and lots of entertainment. We like being interested in things. We like having fun. We like adrenaline, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. Well, video games are art, victory, teamwork, accomplishment. Video games offer a world imagined with a set of rules, creating a stimulating puzzle for players. Very quickly and easily, games offer adrenaline and dopamine. If they're multiplayer games, they have a tendency to offer oxytocin and serotonin as well, because they become an activity in which I work together with my friends, new or old, to solve that puzzle. And a sense of accomplishment can come from improving my ability to play, a skill improved by knowledge and practice in order to complete the puzzle. Then we look at the bigger picture. A very wise Cody once said, "Video games are literally designed around you completing objectives. Step by step, headshot by headshot, shoot to loot, we risk and we're rewarded with adrenaline, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. Our brains respond to games, to puzzles, virtual or otherwise." This gameplay also separates video games from other media in how it handles narrative and lore. It's not simply a one-and-done story that we can consume and internalize in a short time. There is often so much story and meaning to be found in the time spent with a video game, hours upon hours, and game developers can add even more content. Games are art. I will defend them until my dying breath. But I find myself asking every time I play something, is this filled with repetitive busywork? Is the nature of all video games simply grinding? Are video games too long? Could I be spending this time doing something that would mean more to my life, to my friends' lives? Am I actually enjoying this at all? What I've come to value in video games in the last few years is tight, condensed, engaging, meaningful gameplay. It's easy to jump in and jump out. It's usually about having fun with friends. Other human beings. It's about challenging myself to learn a skill, even if it's just a little hobby that I never really get good at. It's not about passing the time, comfort zone numbing, wallowing in purported purposelessness, and trying to reach death faster. See, while playing video games, I find it important to ask myself regularly, what am I gaining from this? And what am I losing from this? If this is left unchecked, the game truly becomes a mindless replacement for reality. If you know me at all, you know I love Outer Wilds and becoming immersed in that world. And I think a lot about how I wish I could take the time to get immersed in games like Far Cry 2 or Squad or even Civilization, where moments of action are farther apart and sessions are long. But my time on this earth is limited, and I've realized I'd rather not spend too much time trying to escape reality. I'd rather learn to face it, to learn and grow, to become a better me, to love well. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Spyro the Dragon is a video game. I first took control of Spyro at the age of 6 in 1998. He's a dragon, and he's a good guy. In my childhood, I explored, adventured, collected stuff, took out the bad guys, and enjoyed funny dialogue with the other good guys. Spyro has a special place in my heart and will remain there forever. This explains why 14 years later I fell in love with Dishonored, because it's basically the same thing, but more mature, with more moving parts, more decisions to make, more chaos and consequences to be enjoyed. Dishonored is a great example of not being like a movie. Many different ways to experience the same story. Bits of lore hidden in text entries. Multiple endings. One of these games may be easier than the other, but they remain puzzles to be solved by a single player, loosely guided by the player's fascination in exploration and experimentation. Now beyond this, Outer Wilds stands as a masterpiece in a league of its own. Truly, it is a work of art, and it's an even better example of what makes video games special. It is a narrative that could only be told by that of a video game. And that's all I can say about it because I want you to go in blind and experience Outer Wilds for yourself. I have so many more favorite single-player games, but that's not the purpose of this essay. What I want to recognize at this point is that these games are a great quick fix for anyone seeking adventure, adrenaline, and dopamine. They are a challenge because they ask me to solve puzzles, but they don't require me to have or make friends. And truthfully, they never really ask much of me, yet they light up the thrill-seeking part of my brain and keep me attached. And I don't even have to go outside. Which brings us to the next category. Between Call of Duty and Fortnite, this is what most of the world thinks video games are these days. Everyone shoots each other, scores points, and levels up. In all fairness, the current competitive games that keep most of humanity addicted these days have some kind of leveling up system. Play a game, get so-called experience points, and get more tools for your arsenal or cosmetic items for your character. Win a game and get more points faster. There are a few games that stand out for me lately in this category. Everyone knows Call of Duty, run and gun. Battlefield, a little slower, a little more patient, plus vehicles. Paladins, heroes with different roles. It's like Overwatch, but with a deck builder. Knockout City. Man, I don't even know what to say about this one, it's just stupid fun. Rocket League, soccer with flying RC cars. These are quite literally sports of the video game world. These games are quick to deliver adrenaline and dopamine in abundance, as well as oxytocin and serotonin thanks to their focus on teamwork. Though I may master the mechanics of these games, the puzzle they ask me to solve is different every time, because my opponents are other unpredictable humans. These ask a little more of me than single-player games. The challenge they pose lights up the thrill-seeking part of my brain even faster, and I still don't really even have to go outside. Although, the teamwork aspect seems to work a little better with close friends than with randoms. And that brings us to the next category. Cooperative games. Games we play together against the computer's code, not other people. Co-op games are probably the best solution for anyone seeking quick oxytocin and serotonin, which often comes packaged with the adventure, adrenaline, and dopamine we're used to. They are a challenge because they ask me to solve puzzles with friends. Real teamwork. They light up the thrill-seeking part of my brain and grow my relationships with my friends, hopefully. And once again, for the time being, I'm safe from the dangers of the real outside world. There is one kind of co-op game that offers me almost the same experience as a single-player game, except I get to experience it with a buddy, sometimes even a few buddies. One example of this kind of game is Portal 2, in which there is a mode containing a linear experience devised for two people, in which they solve actual literal puzzles together in a fashion quite similar to the single-player mode. A slightly different example is playing the quote-unquote single-player campaign of Halo 3 with 3 other people, in which my teammates and I become an unstoppable 4-man squad of chaos through a linear experience of killing aliens. Then there is another kind of co-op game, a game in which I learn to master the mechanics and level up to earn access to more content like I would in the aforementioned competitive games. Payday 2 is a game where the player pulls off heists around the world with up to 3 friends, shoot cops, grab the money or valuables, and get the heck out of there. Another example is Deep Rock Galactic, a game where the player pulls off heists under the surface of an alien planet with up to 3 friends, shoot bugs, mine the minerals or valuables, and get the heck out of there. These games are essentially short, self-contained bursts of an objective, for example, a singular heist in Payday 2, which over time will level up my character and allow me to access more content. Obviously, these games have a grind in some capacity, but my skills and I are grown into bigger challenges, never leaving me feeling like I've been gated off from the real good stuff in the game. Where these games stand out is that they don't have the repetitive busy work aspect of the grind, such as traveling across an open world or managing quests. Each heist is chosen from a menu system, has a simple objective, and has variations that attempt to keep it a little fresh each time that level gets played. Having said all that, we've arrived at the last category I need to talk about. So this category is a little harder to explain because technically it fits into all the others. RPGs are role-playing games, meaning that essentially I create a character that takes on a specific role in an open world, leveling up, interfacing with characters run by the computer and not other players, and taking on multi-stage quests. RPGs have been around a long time, even before video games. You've probably heard of Dungeons & Dragons. Well, some of today's most popular video game RPGs are played from the first-person perspective, many of them featuring guns and playing like the average first-person shooter. Many RPGs can only be played single-player, but many are intended to be played cooperatively with a few friends, and I have quite a few examples to talk about. In games like Borderlands and The Division, I complete one-time quests and kill lots of enemies, typically alongside my friends. Then I level up and become stronger and travel to new areas, wandering across the open world. What makes these games distinct is that each entry in the series is a self-contained story with an ultimate objective and a satisfying conclusion. Games like Minecraft, Stardew Valley, Slime Rancher, Astroneer, Valheim are similar in that they have quests, leveling up, and ultimate objectives. But what sets them apart is an enormous amount of player freedom, creativity, and expression. These games are intended to be relaxing, open-ended, and relatively mindless, which recalls those questions: what am I gaining from this? Is it worth my time? And on that note, several of these games have multiplayer, which is usually why I play them. It's an actual cooperative adventure, full of exploration and creative expression. An important thing to recognize here is that RPGs are famous for grinding. This means revisiting the same areas, repeating the same tasks, in order to level up and get access to better armor, weapons, items, etc. Grinding is kind of like practicing a skill, but the player's character gets the benefit, rather than the player. Instead of getting any better at anything, the player is essentially just training their muscle memory to waste time improving a character instead of improving their own skill. So, here, we've arrived at the reason I even started writing this. I hope everything I said before this gave you an idea of where I'm coming from so that what I'm about to say makes any sense at all. In my eyes, Destiny 2 is essentially a co-op FPS RPG. Is it an MMORPG like World of Warcraft? I'll let you Google that one and decide for yourself. What I do know is that it is a live service game. Live service games are continuously and frequently updated with new content, intended to keep people playing the game years after the game's original release. What I also know is that Destiny is an unfulfilling live service, because the original content that introduced players to the world, the characters, and the game mechanics is now irrelevant, because much of it has been taken out of the hands of the players and been placed into the developer's vault. Because of this, anyone can jump into the current season at any time, and the game will just bring the player's character's power level up to the current season, taking any meaning out of the journey in the original vision of the game. And yet, the game is constantly changing and evolving, so if I take a few weeks off and try to come back to play with my friends, it seems like I am so far behind that nearly every important thing I need to know about the game is new, so I have to relearn the game, which consists of my friends giving me directions on every input I make, leading to a very unsatisfying experience. That short burst of fun that I find the most value in just isn't present, because the game is built to make the player immediately move on to the next thing. The player is intended to feel like each task contributes to the grander adventure, but the adventure is constantly made irrelevant because it just keeps getting grander. The goal keeps moving further away, and the work I did to get here means nothing. Cody has reminded me, you can't save the world in a day, but I've had to remind myself, video games are not real life. I'm supposed to be the hero, and that's another reason why I play video games. There is a victory in sight, whether short-term or long-term. But in Destiny, I'm effectively holding Chekhov's gun, and I offer nothing to the game's universe. This imagined world moves on without me in a way that no other entertainment medium could, or most other games would for that matter. The game is also very much an RPG in that there is plenty of grinding, replaying the same levels for eventual new stuff. Sometimes replaying the level is just for a chance to get that new stuff. Grinding is often a gamble. On that note, I believe that grinding can exacerbate tension and toxicity. When the game becomes a source of fulfillment, when the game has become a job, the soul-crushing despair of sacrificing my life force to get a good loot drop can amplify whatever other issues are present in my life, which I would then pour out on my team, blaming others or talking down to them. This starts fights, creating a cycle, making everyone more tense and more toxic. Cody once told me, I've been really tense and loud the past few days. This was, of course, after a lot of playing Destiny with friends. And I haven't even talked about Destiny's competitive modes. Having said all this, I have to make this clear to myself and everyone else. I still love Destiny, but I can't start playing it, because then I'll keep wanting to play it, and I won't stop playing it, and it will ruin my life, because I will be addicted to those small dopamine hits, among all the time wasted and priorities misplaced. I can't give that kind of commitment. RPGs are scary, especially when they contain elements of gambling. Video games, and especially Destiny 2, have helped to show me how easily life can be a grind, if we let it. And I'm working to change this. I don't want to spend half of my waking hours, the most energetic and productive hours of my day, mentally occupied by a job I don't like. I don't want to come home and do more grinding after 8+ hours of unfulfilling work, or at least I shouldn't want to. But grinding is mindless. Grinding is comfortable. So, I want it. I think at this point it's safe to say I'm, or at least I have been, addicted to video games. Being addicted makes me a much angrier person. It's not necessarily because of the games themselves. It's what they cause me to realize subconsciously, that I am not always in control of what happens. I use video games to get the high of winning, success, completion. But even if I were to practice something frequently, something can always go wrong, without anyone or anything to blame. Sometimes not even myself. I also can't control how much time I have, but I can control what I do with my time. And yet, I frustrate myself because of how easy it is to waste it on that quick dopamine high, rather than doing what I know will truly fulfill me. And it's all because I've created a habit, an endless cycle of desire to win, to succeed, to feel important, to reach the finish line. I have to assume that the greater community of capital G gamers also struggles with this, because they often seem to lack an understanding of empathy and vulnerability. Online gaming, and basically anything that involves winning, fosters a toxicity unlike any other, both in players and spectators. I would argue that our culture has an unhealthy obsession with competition and winning. It has become ingrained in every aspect of our lives. Our society is so offendable and angry, prone to outrage, victim mentality, and cancel culture. We can't let go of control, and we're stuck in a cycle of crazy because we just need to be right, to succeed, to feel good. Western culture has led me to the point where at the end of every match of Paladins, I have to tell the other team's Furia what trash they are because they use that cheap stunlock bull. In the book Atomic Habits, James Clear writes, "You can break a habit, but you're unlikely to forget it. Once the mental grooves of a habit have been carved into your brain, they are nearly impossible to remove entirely, even if they go unused for quite a while. In the long run, we become a product of the environment that we live in. To put it bluntly, I have never seen someone consistently stick to positive habits in a negative environment." What James is saying here doesn't mean that there isn't hope. It just means we need to start recognizing what it is we're doing here. I remember being in 7th grade and joining the football team to challenge myself, but I was so overwhelmed by the fact that I had no time to just be me. Sure, call me slow, but I just like time for things to be quiet. I think we all need quiet. We all need moments to meditate on where we are, to reflect. We need to slow down. We need to stop filling every waking moment with entertainment. I highly recommend everyone, and I mean everyone, read The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. And if you get a chance, watch The Social Dilemma, as well as those minimalism documentaries, all of which can be found on Netflix. I also recommend everyone play Outer Wilds, but no one trusts me, what do I know? It could be said that I'm just weak for not being able to find a proper balance to keep Destiny in my life, and sure, I suppose you're right, but I'm human. I have bad habits, limited time, and a conscious mind that can only handle so much. I constantly check my phone, even though I hardly use social media anymore. I eat too much salt and sugar because they light up my brain. I stream an episode of a TV show or get sucked into YouTube several nights a week when I should be going to bed. Even though I've limited it to weekends, mostly, I still stay up into the early hours of the morning playing other video games with friends, and it never ends up being only a couple hours a week. These things are stimulating and pleasurable, but they are not ultimately satisfying, gratifying, fulfilling, and I know this, so I am in a continuous battle against all of them. Pleasure or purpose. Also in Atomic Habits, James Clear writes, "A craving is just a specific manifestation of a deeper underlying motive. Your brain did not evolve with a desire to smoke cigarettes, or to check Instagram, or to play video games. At a deep level, you simply want to reduce uncertainty and relieve anxiety, to win social acceptance and approval, or to achieve status." I love video games so much, but they're now just harder for me to invest time into, because the pleasure and reward I get from them just isn't proportional to the time I spend on them compared to the more fulfilling things in my life. Look, I can't tell you how to spend your time, but I have a question. If you believed in your true potential, if you took the time to develop a vision and a purpose for your life, if you focused your energy on others' needs and not just on your own dopamine, if you avoided Netflix, TikTok, the hub, if you chose to stop playing Destiny, what would you do with your precious small time in this universe? Sometimes we have to give up the things we love for the people we actually love. There just isn't enough time to do everything I want to do. And I'm not saying video games are bad. We still have to take time for recreation, relaxation, playing games with friends or alone. Ladies and gentlemen, I freaking love Destiny. Just like I love Halo, Dishonored, Outer Wilds, Spyro. But I love my wife and daughter more, and I need to take time to be the best husband and father that I can. That is who I want to be. I want to be slow and patient and kind. That is what I want to do with the time I have left. And Destiny? Well, for me, it stands in the way. know Cody was sort of joking when he asked me to write this essay, but I realized I had to make this to explain not just to my friends but to myself why I should never play Destiny again. Sadly, because of my insatiable creative vision, I've spent a stupid amount of time on this project, and my friends will tell me I should have just been playing Destiny instead. And making it has been difficult because the more I've worked on this, the more I'm reminded of the reasons why I love Destiny. And I don't mean to imply that no one else should play it, but I just hope I've given you something to think about. Please check out the other videos and articles I've linked in the description. They were instrumental in the creation of this video. And please, question my judgment. Write your thoughts in the comments. I'll read them. And respond. Probably.